Hey everybody, my name is Willow and I'm working to help people to wake up. Now, if you've already awakened, you've already been through the process, then you already going to understand what I'm talking about. You're going to know what I'm talking about. But if you have not awakened yet, you haven't begun your awakening process, then what I'm saying is not going to make any sense to you. But it is possible that if you're watching this video that you may be in the beginning stage of waking up, or you may be about to begin your awakening process and you were just led here. So I want to start off a little bit by telling you a little bit about my awakening process, because it'll give you a little bit of insight about what it's like. My awakening process began with an illness, a pretty severe illness called Morgellons Disease. If you know anything about Morgellons disease, then I don't have to say to you very much about what it's like, because just to put it point blank, it's pretty devastating. The pain that you have to endure, the suffering, the itching, the stinging, the burning. I mean, it's just, there's so much involved with Morgellons illness still. It would be a whole different subject, a whole new video to talk about Morgellons. But my awakening process started with Morgellons because I had the illness first. When I first fell ill, I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't know what I had. I finally hooked up with some people online who had the same symptoms I did, and we linked it to Morgellons disease. So that's how I know that I had Morgellons disease, because I went to several doctors and they never diagnosed me with anything except delusional perceptions within my mind. But anyway, I'm going to say that Morgellons disease was like a catalyst, because it was after my dealing with Morgellons is that I kind of went into a different kind of ways of thinking. Like I was perceiving the world in a different way. But about 5 years after Morgellons, after it kind of calmed down and I started moving into the stage of healing, I had what I call an encounter with the spirit world. And when I say spirit world, I'm talking about I had an encounter with something that is not of this world. It was of the spirit world. And I mean, nobody can tell you, when you have an encounter with the spirit world, you know that it is not of this world. So after I had my encounter with the spirit world, you can say at that moment that it happened that I was awakened, because the very moment that I saw what I saw, I was changed completely. I knew then, when I walked away from that experience that day, which happened, by the way, at the graveyard. I had just lost a loved one. But when I walked away from that experience, I knew that there was more out there than what I could see with my physical eyes. I knew that there was another world out there. There was no turning back now. I had confirmation of it. It had been proven to me. I knew it existed. And so my search began. That's when my spiritual search began, because then I started reading everything I could get on the spirit world and angels and metaphysics and anything that had to do with the spirit world. Anything I could find, I read it, because I had this hunger inside for more of the truth. I wanted to know the truth. I had had a glimpse of the truth, but I wanted more of the truth. So that began my spiritual search. And then later on, I found a spiritual group online that I kind of joined and hooked up with, and I'm still a part of that group. But that's when I started following a spiritual path that I resonated with. Now, there are a lot of spiritual paths out there that you can study And as a matter of fact, I've studied more than one. There were like 3 or 4 that I've actually studied, but there was one that I stayed with. I'm not going to name the spiritual path because I don't want to try to influence anybody to take the same path that I did, mainly because I know that everybody's spiritual walk is different. So if you are spiritually awakened and you're searching for the truth, you're going to find the path that's right for you, and you're not going to need anybody to tell you which path to follow. So it's best not to name them. Just let them. It's better to let the path find you, because when you awaken, I can promise you, if you're serious about learning more about the truth, about reality, and the spirit world that exists around you, if you're serious about learning more about it, it will find you. So the path that you're supposed to have will find its way to you. But anyway, after joining the spiritual group and studying this particular spiritual path, I started growing in my spiritual walk. Then I started learning more about energy and how energy moves through your body, and how you can open up your energy centers within your body to hold the energy, how you can ground with the energy, and how you can just change your entire life just by being aware of your energy, of life, of your breath, of just all the things that we've always taken for granted, those little things like breathing and energy and just the life force and nature. I mean, everything around you is here to assist you with your awakening. All you have to do is be aware of it and ask for assistance. But anyway, I started learning about energy. I started learning about nature. I started spending more time in nature. I started learning about the elementals of nature and how they work. They will help you, how you can actually communicate with them, and how they will help you along your spiritual walk, and how you can communicate with the trees, and how they'll help you dive into your Akashic records and learn everything about your past and your future and your now. And it's just a long progress of just allowing yourself to open up to reality, to what's really out there. And that's pretty much what the awakening is about. And when you first wake up, it's like you're just in awe at this new world that you've discovered, and you're just amazed at everything that you're learning. And for years, you may walk around and just feel like a little spiritual butterfly, like, feel like you're on top of the world, and everything is fine and dandy. And it is for a while. But as you progress along on the path, there is a dark side to spiritual awakening. Because as you begin to awaken, all of the energy within you and everything within you, then all of the junk that you've accumulated over your entire life starts coming up to be dealt with. So you see, you can't have the good and then not have to deal with the bad, because at first it is kind of like a little picnic, but then when the stuff starts coming up, and everything's going to come up, everything. If you're holding any anger or fear or resentment in your heart, if you're holding any negative feelings about anybody or about anything that's happened to you in your past, if you're still wounded by anything that's happening to you in your past, which most of us are, all that's going to come up. And when it starts coming up, it's going to bring all those emotions with it. And when those emotions start hitting you, you're going to feel like you're bombarded with all of this emotional energy, and you're not going to know what to do with it. And this is how so many people get stuck on their spiritual path, because when the negative stuff starts coming up, when the old stuff starts coming up, which is there to be cleansed, is there to be purified. What you want to do is we make the mistake of holding on to it, but what we want to do is let it go. So there's learning how to move the energy through your body and let it run through your body, and grounding with that energy and getting in alignment with it is how we learn how to allow this negativity to come up first. It has to come up, and then you be aware that it's there. You have to be aware of it instead of just holding it inside and letting it burn you up. Just be aware of it, and then let it know that you know what it is, you know why it's there, and now it has to go. So the dark night of the soul, which is the downside of spiritual awakening, is a whole different video, and I am going to do a video on the dark night of the soul. But right now, I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of my spiritual awakening and what happens in those first initial phases. And then when you get to the downside, which is where all the dark stuff starts coming up, you really start beginning to change, and you start to begin to change, and you start looking like you're kind of crazy, to be honest with you. You're going to go through this stage where you're going to look crazy, you're going to act crazy, and everybody around you is going to really think you're crazy. But this is part of the journey, and as long as you know that it's part of the journey, you'll make it through it. If you don't know that it's part of the journey, and you feel like you're just totally losing it, then you might be kind of tempted to do some things that you might not necessarily think about doing. But that's the reason I'm making these videos, is because I want to help people. I want to help people because after going through what I went through and almost coming to that point to where I wanted to end things and take my life, and then turning things around, and when it was with the help of other people's videos that helped me realize what I was going through and helped me to turn things around. So since I have been given so much from the universe, it's my responsibility to give back what I've been given. So I'm going to go for now, and I'm going to come back later with another video and talk to you about the dark night of the soul and how to get through that, and just hope that I can help somebody. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.